Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
And my name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. It's a podcast about news and politics that occasionally wanders into jokes haphazardly.
I mean, I'm sure it does, but sorry, I'm just really distracted by looking at this amazing look being worn by Gardening Australia's Costa at the Logies that's happening right now.
The Logies.
TV Week Logies. The most important event happening right now.
High fashion at the Logies.
Yeah. Oh, he's covered in flowers. He's got this giant chicken brooch and a loud shirt. Oh, this is great. Looks like a wild man. Love it.
What's he nominated for? Do we know?
Best gardening program on the best gardening program on the ABC, surely.
Probably. Is he up for the gold Logie?
I don't know. So the Logies, for people who have just wandered into this show and are like, what are you guys high? Like, yes, one, we are. Secondly,
no, the Logies I have a job. Don't say things like that.
Okay. The Logies are Australia's version of the Emmys, but it's basically
like without all the class, without all the class and glamour of the Emmys. It's like the Emmys, but if you had to do it on $900 dues as opposed to what the Emmys
and
does.
the winners are like you vote. Well, you used to vote through a magazine. Like you'd like
that dates all of us.
TV Week. You'd go buy the magazine, submit your vote through the post or whatever. So now I think you do it digitally, obviously, but it's all run through TV Week, which was the organizer of the event. So it's and there's this thing called the Gold Logie, which is basically the most popular.
I believe most popular personality on Australian television is the official name. Of
what an
Gold
honor.
Logie.
The supreme honor. You know, it's like a Nobel Prize. You know, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way to.
But for people like Sonia Kruger, so
yeah. You know, best of luck to everybody. My wife is nominated for a Logie, so
a gold Logie?
Not a gold Logie.
Then get fucked.
Has worked on 2 of the shows that are up for Logies.
Oh, that's exciting! Congratulations.
Yeah, they don't expect to win because it always goes to something like, have you been paying attention or whatever? But we can dream.
As much as our listeners are riveted by the politics of the internal mechanics of Australian television awards shows, I think perhaps it might be best that we turn to news and politics, which is, as I've said, as the aforementioned introduction stated, is the bread and butter of our show.
Well, all right, well, fair enough. This just in. Bluey won Best Children's Program.
Great, I mean, fucking Kelsurprise. So... What? The international sensation Bluey won Best Television Show for Children? Fucking what? Bluey's really good.
I wonder if Donald Trump watches Bluey. What do you think?
Probably not. Well, I mean...
It's big in America, I thought, so he's probably seen it.
Yeah, especially...
He's probably seen it. Especially
considering how much he hangs out with kids. So Donald Trump...
Zing!
Got him! Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. So Donald Trump this week has drifted into week 4 of the Trump Epstein saga, and obviously
only 4.
He wants to put it behind him, and yet it's Donald Trump, so he literally can't help but want to be the center of attention, even if like any kind of messaging discipline from any kind of like professional communications person would contain Persian. Hello, it is I, communications person. And the irony, of course, being that he's not a very good communicator. And then we could go on that track for about 10 or 15 minutes, I think. But let's, in the interest of time, let's just keep it to the rundown. So Donald Trump obviously is just incapable of sticking to the message discipline, which in a situation like this would be like focus on the fake scandal that you made up about Obama and treason, and like anytime the Epstein things come up, just talk about here are the things that we want to deliver for you, the American people, and not, these not distracted by XYZ things. And Donald Trump, but he just can't. He's just like physically incapable of helping himself. And even when this is the center of attention for bad things, he still loves the attention. So here's him on Air Force One And I don't know why all of these Trump interviews happen to take place on or near planes, so you can't fucking hear anything, but that is the case. So here's him talking about the reason that he says that him and Jeffrey Epstein broke up their best bros friendship back in 2004, he alleges, although we'll talk about in a minute why that timeline makes no sense. So here's Donald Trump saying some words on a plane.
So President Epstein has a certain reputation, obviously. Just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
Were some of them young women? Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes.
I don't want to say, but the answer is yes.
Yeah, I don't want to say, but I'll keep talking.
What did they do?
In the spa.
Jobs in the spa.
Yeah, people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-Lago. And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa.
I hate that this motherfucker makes me laugh, whether it was spa or not spa.
Just
Wait, there's more.
Play the rest of the clip.
There's more.
okay.
I don't want him taking people. And he was fine, and then not too long after that, he did it again, and I said, out of here.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons, does that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked in the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know.
So
Crazy. The scenario that he's
whether
describing.
it was spa or no spa.
Yeah, the scenario he's describing as well, because at first you'd think that he's talking about just like, oh, he's poaching employees from my business or whatever. Like he's describing it like that. But
she was 16
directly from the spa.
She was 16, by the way,
and complaining that he's stealing people. Like this guy's taking people. It's like, is he like, fucking Dickensian villain, just like creeping into the spa and just pick them up and
so it's weird because at one point in that it kind of like suggests that he's being inappropriate with young, because she was 16 when she worked at the spa. She was like a pool attendant or something like that. She was like a literal child. So is he sort of saying, like, because he said in the past that it was because Epstein was like being a creep with people and that's why he got rid of him. So if you kind of marry that up with this, it's like, okay, well, he knows that him and Ghislaine Maxwell took this person and had her working for them. And if you also said it was because he was a creep, then aren't you kind of putting two and two together there? That he's like getting underage women to go and work for him. And like that is like a creepy thing that you are now kind of tacitly admitting that you were aware of, is that he was, at least attempting to sex traffic underage people.
Yeah. Isn't that you admitting that you knew and did nothing?
Yeah.
Or did you?
Yes.
Next clip.
Yes. Thank you, Tom. And what a professional segue. But yeah, so it's that, and then but then obviously the timeline doesn't make any sense there because it was like 2001 or something that she moved, but then like in 2002 he was still saying good things about him in the press and how good friends they were and all this sort of stuff. And I think it wasn't until like 2003, 2004 that they actually kind of like parted ways, if they did in fact part ways. So it's like the timeline doesn't kind of make any sense. And so what we've got now here is a clip from Michael Wolff, who has written a number of books about the Trump campaign. And the
Fire
other,
and Fury was the really famous one.
Fire and Fury, and there was there's been a couple, all specifically about the Trump campaign. And the thing that I noted, having read some of Michael Wolff's books, because I'm a huge fucking nerd, is that he has what I can only be described as like God mode access over the Trump administration. Yeah. For some reason, they keep allowing this guy in and around stuff. And, you know, with...
It's crazy. There's multiple books after the first one.
So
why the hell are you speaking in front of this man ever again?
So he's got, as of now, there's currently 4 books that Michael Wolff has written about the Trump administration. And his first one, Fire and Fury, which I've read that one, 2018, was all about. So basically, like, he got access. He spoke to Trump saying, I'm writing a book. And Trump was like, okay. And just let him in. And he was in the administration. And everyone kind of looked at him like, what? Sorry, why are you here again? And he's just kind of like, Trump said it was fine. And then everyone was like, well, I guess if Trump said it was fine, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But like, there was no clearance. He was just like hanging around for like 2 years of the first Trump administration with basically completely unfettered access. And so his book reflects this very intimate access that he has with all of the Trump administration. And as I said, he's written 4 books, you know, Fire and Fury, Siege, Trump Under Fire, Landslide, All or Nothing. And yeah, like, notable how much access he had to Trump and to the Trump administration throughout the process of writing all of these books. And I'm not sure why, because he's definitely doesn't write about Trump in a way that I would describe as complimentary in any way.
It's not favorable.
No, it comes across really critical, or maybe he's just like describing events as they happened, and me, a person with a brain, the person reading it, sees that commentary as critical, but he's just like explaining the things that happened. Everyone's like, well, he's just writing facts. Like, anyway, all of this is to say that the guy has a lot of access to Trump and to Trump's inner workings and Trump's, you know, inner circle and all this sort of stuff.
At
least had for many, but he's got a book coming out this year, All or Nothing, apparently, about all of this, about the Trump campaign. And he's written about these events, particularly in his books about Trump. So this is the only reason I say all of that is to kind of prologue what we're about to hear from Michael Wolff, which said, like, this isn't a guy who was like uninformed about the Trump experience. There's a guy who has deep, intimate access to the nooks and crevices of both Trump administrations. So just keep that in mind when you hear this, okay? I'm not saying anything defamatory. It's Michael Wolff, the guy who had a lot of access to Trump, saying these things. Anyway, here we go.
Now, Epstein's explanation for why this friendship ended is as follows. In 2004, Epstein believed himself to be the high bidder on a piece of real estate in Palm Beach, a house. $36 million was his bid. He took his friend Trump around to see the house to advise him on how to move the swimming pool. Trump thereupon went around Epstein's back and bid $40 million for the house and got the property. Epstein, who was well acquainted, in fact, deeply involved with Trump's scattered finances, understood that he didn't have $40 million to pay for this house. Now, if that was the case, it was someone else's $40 million. At the time, Epstein believed this to be the $40 million of a Russian oligarch by the name of Rybolet. Less than 2 years later, this same house that Trump had bought for $40 million was sold for $95 million. And it was, in fact, sold to Mr. Rybolet. This is all a red flag of money laundering. And what Epstein did, and he was furious about losing this house. Epstein, after the sale of this house, after Trump went around his back, got this house, Epstein began to threaten him. He began to threaten him with lawsuits. He began to threaten him with going to the press and saying that Trump was a front man for a money laundering deal. Trump panics at this point, and Epstein believed, and he believed to his dying day, that it was Trump who went to the police, Trump who was fully acquainted with what was going on at Epstein's house, fully acquainted for many years. Trump went to the police and, as Epstein said, dropped the dime on him. That is to say, informed the police of what was going on, and an investigation began, and all of Epstein's legal problems for the next 15 years began to unfold. This story.
So, yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Like he goes on to say, it was published in his book in June of 2019. So, I mean, none of this has been like secret information. Like he's written this all up and sourced it and, he's recounted, this is recounted to him by Jeffrey Epstein, apparently. So
yeah, but like, how did he? I don't know. I need to read the book to work it out. But reading that, I'm like, where is he getting this information from? Like, is it if it's from
Epstein himself?
From Epstein, yeah.
Like, yeah, he.
How did he have access to Epstein? I don't know.
But that's the thing. See, these people are just happy to talk to Michael Wolff for some reason.
Michael Wolff, he's got just
hypnotizer or something.
He's got a very trustworthy face. I don't know what it is. I've always thought of him as like a little bit muckrakey, a little bit grubby, and that's why I don't understand why he keeps getting access to the Trump machine, because he's like, he writes about them in ways that are not favorable, but for some reason they keep trusting him with access. It's the weirdest thing.
It's bizarre.
I think a lot of it would be as well people leaving the administration, particularly from the first administration, right? People that left the administration and gave him info after the fact.
Potentially, but it sounds like a lot of the stuff from my recollection of Fire and Fury.
He was in the room.
It was in the room with people.
Yeah.
It was contemporaneous accounts of stuff that was going on as it was going on.
Yeah,
and that
at least that first book, he was in the White House. Like he'd be sitting in the meeting rooms and in the Oval Office.
And they'd be like, why are you here, Michael Wolff?
Like, who are you and why are you here? I'm writing a book. Oh, okay. So let's talk about how we colluded with the Russians. Like, they just kept talking.
And that example of the sale to Rybolev, that's not the first time that there have been accusations levied at Trump.
The Russian oligarch.
The Russian oligarch, where he bought the house for $40 million and then sold it a year later for whatever it was, $90 million. Like there have been a number of different accusations where cutouts, Russian people that have connections to high-level people over in Russia, have bought overpriced property from Donald Trump and flipped it like a year later. There's a number of different accusations of that. There was another one with an apartment in Manhattan where that happened. Like, this is not the first time that story has been told. So, like, for someone who keeps talking about the Russia hoax, there sure is a lot of smoke around various Russian cutouts and oligarchs and people that keep transferring money. And I remember hearing some story about how, like a Russian, there were like pings from a Russian server. Between the Trump campaign and, in the lead up to the last election in 2024, like a lot of it sounds very conspiratorial and like circumstantial. But when you hang all of these things together, it really does sound like there is some kind of like organized effort from the Russians to enrich and support Donald Trump for whatever reason. We don't know the reason, but it's
useful idiot. Isn't that the expression?
The most useful and the biggest idiot. So, I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting perspective. Like, if you were Trump and you dropped the dime on Jeffrey Epstein, and that's what led to all of his legal troubles and him getting captured and all this sort of stuff and prosecuted and convicted, wouldn't you be like very much on the front foot with that? Be like, I was the guy that fucking uncovered the global ring of pedophiles and fucking dobbed him in. And, like, you think you'd be.
You don't want to be seen as a rat. I guess he's always mob rules. He always thinks of himself as like a mob boss and stuff, right? You don't want to be seen as a rat.
It also admits that you had knowledge of what was going on because as far as the prosecutions of Epstein that occurred, they all occurred within the residence of his residence at Palm Beach, Epstein's residence. And we know that Trump also had a residence in Palm Beach, Florida, and that's how they knew each other, was like, from being friends with other rich people down in Palm Beach, right? So it does kind of tell on yourself a little bit to be like, oh yeah, I knew what was going on at the Epstein house and that's why I dobbed him in. So maybe that's why, I don't know. But it looks really bad for Donald Trump to be like, he was stealing people and that's why. Like, no matter how you spend his explanation or Michael Wolff's explanation, all of the explanations look bad for Donald Trump and his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Like none of the options on the menu suggests to me completely innocent guy that was unaware of pedophilia happening. Like best case scenario.
I think, like anything with Donald Trump, he'll pivot the narrative, and delete what he said last week, from the collective, and then change his story. So, like, even during that,
we've always been at war with Oceania.
Even in that clip, you could see him. He got asked about the girl, and he said, what was the bit at the end?
Like, I think she did. She may have been Spa or not Spa. I think she worked at Spa.
Like at the end, he's like, you can see him sort of processing the question, and then he's sort of making the answer up as he's going.
He's like,
so
he's creating the reality that he's living in real time.
Like he said, "Oh, I'm not sure." Yes.
Actually, now that I think about it, it makes more sense that I would say yes to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's actually just.
Otherwise, Adam, otherwise known as the actions of a totally truthful person.
This is the thing. Like, I know, he's the leader of the free world, so we have to pay attention. But I'm just not shocked anymore, and I'm stopping to, and I am just like
Adam.
I listen to him talk, and I just see an idiot, and I don't trust anything that he says because he just says
congenital
shit. He
liar.
just makes stuff up.
No, I appreciate that.
But I don't even know why we're listening to him.
But Adam, you have to remember that this is a president of the, just take a, zoom out from Trump for a second. I know he's like, we're all just kind of like, we're frog being boiled in the pot and we're all used to this. But just take a step, remove yourself from your body for a second and just go back to 10 years ago and just imagine that you heard that the president of the United States was a close and dear friend of a convicted pedophile and then used the machinery of government to cover up this association and create and made the intelligence services lie about this and lied about it to the American public. You would assume that president would burst into flames and could not be real for a single moment longer, right?
I know. But my point being is I don't know why people are listening to what the president says as though it has
because it's fucking crazy. Because it's crazy what he's saying.
Because it's crazy.
I know he's
why
crazy.
Are we paying it? I would much rather listen to Michael Wolff or other people who have actually, some sort of
working brain.
I would rather listen to JD Vance, what JD Vance says, right? Because at least I know he's partially thought about what he's saying.
Have you ever heard the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Whereas Donald Trump is just a lunatic. He's just raving mad.
Yeah.
And it's and everyone's hanging off every word he says.
Because it's so transparently...
What could it mean? What could it mean? It's it doesn't mean anything. He's a lunatic.
Okay, you know how you're getting angry about this? This is how I felt about the mushroom case, okay? It was why is everyone talking about this constantly? She obviously did it. That's how, it really seems to me, it's because it's not even I think part of the thing that's fascinating about it with Trump, it's yes, he's obviously lying about something, but the lie is so transparently bad that it's must convince no one. And yet he's still doing it. But also at the same time, he hasn't resigned in disgrace and is still the president. And so we're living in this hyper normalization reality where we understand that everything is falling apart. It must surely be falling apart. And yet everything keeps going. And then earnings reports come out and the economy still keeps going and things keep happening, even though clearly the world is ending. It's just, it's a very
Trump's
strange time to be alive.
His whole MO, his entire life, even before politics, was you just keep going. You keep going and things just have to work.
You keep talking and you create the reality.
Tank the economy.
It's fucking chaos magic. If I just talk long enough and bullshit hard enough, I can create reality.
You just keep going. If you do not acknowledge fault, it's exactly what his father taught him.
Yeah, it's a Roy
If you
Cohn
do
shit.
not acknowledge fault, you just keep going through it because the rest of us are to Adam's point, he's insane. What a lunatic. Why are we listening to all this sort of stuff? But I still have to get up and go to work tomorrow. And all of us are still getting up and going to work and contributing as the cogs in the machine that we are under capitalism. And it just still keeps going. So if you don't have the capacity, if you do not have the mental and emotional fortitude to resign in disgrace, the system keeps working. It just keeps working as it is intended to. While he's insane, it's bonkers.
The media and this kind of stuff just Okay, I mean, I guess that's their job, but why are we even bothering asking him questions at this point?
Oh yeah, I don't know how you're in the press corps with Trump and you ask him something.
Good on that female
expecting
journalist.
to get a solid answer that has any sense of credibility or information that you can report as news. Like everything needs to be. Remember that brief period, like when Trump wasn't president again, like like when Joe Biden was in, and suddenly the media was like, Trump says completely baselessly XYZ, rather than just Trump says this. Like, it's like, oh, remember when we actually reported on him properly? Because he's nuts.
But like the thing is, like now he's the president. So when the president says things, it becomes news because the president said it, even if they're banal, ordinary things. But these are not banal, ordinary things. These are crazy things, and so it just kind of amplifies and re-amplifies the importance that the already outsized effect that the American presidency has on the media. And even though this is obviously like a very damaging thing for him to be talking about for himself, he still can't help but like lavish in the attention. He's still, like, that's why he's such a fascinating figure. And I hate that he makes me laugh, the spa or no spa. Like it's so dumb. But like, I just can't look away. It's like an eclipse. I'm like, I know I shouldn't look at it, but I'm staring right into it. It's burning my corneas. It's killing the information space. The longer I do it, and yet I can't look away. I'm transfixed.
Exactly like he did that one time.
Speaking of being transfixed, the Department of Homeland Security, otherwise known as DHS, is transfixed on its recruitment drive. They have launched a Defend the Homeland initiative nationwide to recruit Patriots to join ICE law enforcement and remove the worst of the worst from the US. America.
The Homeland.
Waves of green.
The sweet irony of calling it the Homeland.
The Homeland. I think they meant to write Fatherland, but they got autocorrect.
And they've got a pretty good signing package here. It's like a $50,000 signing bonus will wipe your student loans. You get 25% law enforcement availability pay.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other things as well.
Administratively uncontrollable overtime for enforcement removal operations for deportation officers. So basically, like, your boss cannot stop you from getting overtime. Like, if you're out on operations and, working outside of regular work hours, deporting people, they can't stop you getting overtime. They have to pay you overtime. And overtime is whatever it is, time and a half, double time or whatever.
It's a pretty good deal. If I was like 25, fresh out of uni, I'd look at this and go, oh.
Yeah, well, no offense, Adam,
Really?
but you would fit right in.
I don't know. What do you say? Something about my looks? Is it my eyes?
I have what are your credentials? I have a go bag. You're hired.
Yeah, well, all I want to say is I come from white European descent, and I'm just really into just backpacks and military hardware. Just really into mesh webbing and camo and, playing laser tag out in the bush. Molly webbing.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's
Also, this post from
let's put it this
Homeland
way.
Security page.
Let's put it this way. Hang on. You and Sydney Sweeney both share an appreciation for a particular kind of jeans.
For great jeans.
Yes. Yeah.
I like jeans. I'm wearing jeans right now.
No, you guys didn't see that. You didn't see that.
No, I saw it.
Yeah. Okay.
I sent it to you guys.
Yeah. No, the whole thing is like completely fucking weird. They're all a bunch of racists. So
now, what shits me about this Homeland Security post that we're referring to here of like advertising the signing bonuses and all that is, why is the acronym for administratively uncontrollable overtime AUI?
What do you mean?
Why is it AUI? That's what it says here in the post. Administratively uncontrollable overtime (parentheses) AUI.
There's no I in
sense to me.
Yeah. I don't know why.
That makes sense to me.
Like
That's
many
so
things,
stupid.
like many things in the American defense apparatus, doesn't make a lot of sense. So you might be thinking, oh, geez, that's pretty attractive. Why? How has ICE got all of this money to spend? To give people up to $50,000 signing bonus and annual salaries of $100,000 when they're cutting cancer research and cutting taxes for billionaires. How does ICE have all of this money Well, you'd be
Because
unsurprised.
they're cutting cancer research, I assume. They're
Yeah,
going to just use all. They're not saving that money. They're just redistributing it.
Redistributing the child cancer research money to more appropriate endeavors, such as paying a bunch of skinheads $100,000 a year to be border heavies.
You'll have fewer children with cancer if you kick them all out of the country.
This is true.
Think about it.
I mean, they'll still have cancer, but they'll be elsewhere, so we don't have to give a fuck about it. So ICE, the border enforcer. So a lot of people don't know that ICE, because it's the border enforcement agency, ICE can actually operate because they have jurisdiction over anything that's within 100 miles of a border. They actually have enforcement, like operational jurisdiction over 90% of Americans in the United States, because most places are near a border. Like the ocean is a border.
Right. Yeah.
For example. And so even though it's a border enforcement operation, you think that they would be largely focused on
Mexico and Canada.
Mexican-American border and maybe 100 miles in either direction of that. It really can apply to just about fucking anything anywhere because of how broadly their mandate is written. And in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, they received an influx of $178 billion over the next 4 years. So the current budget of ICE is approximately $5 billion a year, and they're getting $178 billion over the next 4 years,
That's 30-something billion.
Yeah, it's like a
kind of a year,
quadrupling of their yearly budget, and then there's also like massive one-offs that they've also been gifted by the Trump administration.
Yeah. It's some real like napkin math, but yeah, that's like $30 billion a year.
Lot o' money. And basically what it does is it makes ICE one of the largest militaries. Like it makes it an organization that has the budget of the 15th largest military in the world. So there's the United States, number one. There's China, a very distant number two. 3 for 15 random other countries. And then ICE. So ICE has a bigger budget than Italy's military. Italy, which is the third largest economy in the world, has a smaller military budget than the individual Department of Homeland Security, ICE. ICE within Homeland Security.
They really just want to like get the catering going.
I mean, with that sort of money,
the culture,
catering is going to be spot on. You would not believe the officers.
Pizza parties every day.
Yeah,
like that's a pizza party every day.
Yeah,
and it's also
every day.
It's also really expensive to like remerch your fucking departments. Like, remember when our border force team had to like get new plushies?
The border force plushies. Yes.
Let's have our little cuddly bears to take a bite out of migration. Or new stationery. Got to get the new stationery.
Made in China. So, in case you're wondering, like, what are they looking to spend this money on? Well, there's $45 billion.
$50,000 signing bonuses.
Yeah, well, yes. So $45 billion of that money is going to the building of new detention centers, which is a budget increase of 13x what it was prior to the OBBA getting signed. So a substantial increase, as well as $30 billion for recruitment. And that's what these new incentives are going to be taken out of in order to build what I've called on the show, the Death Star. This is what they're doing. They're putting together a completely private, unaccountable army of low IQ racists who support Trump directly in the hands of Donald Trump. And I think, like, traditionally, lowering the standards of a law enforcement agency and filling it full of ideologues who are responsible only to the great leader and not to the country has historically not been a great idea.
On what grounds?
There's no recent examples that I can think of like people in brown shirts that did the Führer's bidding or anything like that. So I guess you're right, Tom. I've got nothing to lean on historically, precedent-wise. It's just the vibes are off. I can't really put my finger on defending the fatherland and removing criminal scum and all this kind of dehumanizing rhetoric. I don't think there are any historical analogous kind of situations that I could really compare it to. But
that just wouldn't be right.
That wouldn't be. That would not be right. But I did put together some like a job ad, sort of calling all brown shirts, calling all fascists to what they would be like. So the role. Do you enjoy shouting vaguely legal things at terrified civilians while wearing gear designed by someone with a Punisher sticker on their hard drive? Do you thrive in an environment where chain of command is more of a suggestion and every decision is made via text message from an unknown entity called the Colonel? Good, because we're hiring. Your job is simple. Enforce. That's it. No one's really defined what precisely you're enforcing, and frankly, if you ask too many questions, we'll assume you're Antifa and put you on the watch list. Key responsibilities include detaining anyone who looks like they might have read a book about civil rights and yelling, "I have authority," with the confidence of a man who very much does not. We are looking for people who've got a background in law enforcement. You'll be happy to know. Or at least have very strong feelings about law enforcement. And they must be comfortable operating in legal grey zones, moral fog, and ethical black holes. We do have some perks. What we offer: government-issued sunglasses and an unmarked SUV that screams, "We're definitely not kidnapping anyone." Full dental, partial accountability, and the chance to be part of an exciting new direction in law enforcement where democracy is more the decor rather than the design. Now, I would describe the organizational culture at ICE as think Department of Homeland Security meets a WWE backstage locker room meets a Reddit thread entitled "What if the Gestapo but vibes?" And to apply, all you need to do is submit a one-page statement outlining your tactical philosophy, and these statements can obviously be written in in the blood of a migrant. Ideally, a picture of yourself for your badge, just a blurry, selfie headshot taken of you frowning in front of an American flag, or holding up a large fish. References from at least 2 former drill sergeants or one disgruntled podcast host. So
yeah, they need those like wraparound like speed dealer glasses in front of like a giant like Ram Ute.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Are you taking feedback on that? Like, are we just going to send it version? Is that version?
I mean, that's
like
V1, but like happy to take some feedback. For sure.
Let's upload it to the client portal. Let's send it. Let's fire
it off and see what we get back.
Yeah. Put the AI recruiters on it.
Yeah. It's ICE, because real heroes don't wait for warrants. So. Yeah, I mean, let's see what sort of feedback we get, and the other thing we could do is anyone who's got a car as their profile picture, great, also good, good stuff. But yeah,
it's funny because they're the secret police.
We'll chuck it up on ZipRecruiter and we'll see what we get back. On a serious note, it's deeply concerning that they're building a mass.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how to talk about this without kind of like turning inward and glib about it, because it's like
just wanting to cry.
Yeah.
It's haunting.
Yeah, it's and the whole aesthetic of fascism that they're like very clearly comfortable bathing in, this whole like defend the homeland, Christy Nome sitting with her big fucking black cap and all this like military kind of hardware, kind of America fuck yeah imagery. Like the only thing that
it's about patriot. They're trying to trigger patriotism.
Fucking America, fuck yeah, patriotism, defend the homeland. Like, it makes me so uncomfortable that they're so
which implies that they're
bathing in this. Yeah, implying that they're under attack. Under attack by what? Defending against whom? Against people who entered the country legally using the CPB-1 app, which is the way that you're supposed to enter the country, seeking asylum, which is legal to seek. Like they're deporting people who are like some of whom are citizens. Some people who have green cards. Yeah. They're just snatching people off the street and deporting them. Like none of this is
but they're from cultures that are different to theirs, and it's the exact Nazi playbook, right? It was they look at it like a liquid, like diluting.
Yeah, well, that's the great replacement theory. This is the sort of like racist horseshit that Tucker Carlson has been promoting.
The white genocide kind of stuff. Yeah,
is that the Browns are coming to, and they're going to come and have a lot of babies and outnumber us, right? That's the whole That's the whole idea, right? Which kind of leads into...
We'll get to that.
Yes.
If we want to jump to that.
Yeah, let's lean into that. Tom, why don't you tell us about the pronatalism movement? I think that seems like a natural segue there.
Yeah, so there was just this piece in the ABC this week about a family in the States that part of what they're calling the pronatalist movement, which essentially boils down to have a shit ton of kids.
Make it the babies.
On the one hand, you want kids? Great. People have big families. Like, okay, I know there can be some crazy economic things around that, and like, oh man, people have a tough time with one kid, let alone 9 or whatever.
I can confirm.
Yes, I was going to say people.
First-hand evidence. Yes.
Let alone 9, but. What makes this a little different
my son was born in 2023, nearly 2 years ago. He started sleeping mostly well, in June, so 8 weeks ago. So
hey, he's sleeping well. That's good.
Gives you any kind of like context for what my fucking life has been like for the last 2 years. That's what it's like with one kid. Now imagine several.
Yes, having many children. So. Yeah, and this family that they've talked about in this article, they're not just having kids out of just like the joy of their hearts of wanting a big family and just that it's always been their dream with a white picket fence. They are doing it to shore up the numbers is the general vibe. It's like they look at stats like birth rates being down and all these other things, and they think the solution is, Jesus, we got to be having more kids. Us, in particular, like it's our moral imperative to have more offspring.
Simone and Malcolm Collins.
Yes.
I wonder if you can guess the race based on that.
Well, and they just have some weird like. It's the attitude around it all that creeps me out here, because there's just some incredible quotes. Like from Malcolm Collins, he says that kids do not exist for our pleasure. If you want that, get a pet. Kids, we have to pay to the future the debt we owe the past. It's a very strange kind of, view of it there, being like that we... I know where they're coming from of like owing to the continuation of the species and like trying to rationalize the biological like imperative to reproduce, to continue a species existing. But
we need to populate the fatherland. Okay,
yeah,
we need to populate the rolling hills of. We need to populate the rolling hills of Bavaria, as is our right.
Yeah, exactly that. And he goes on to say things like that our greatest threat is fertility collapse. Quote, if fertility collapse does lead to a collapse of human civilization, eventually all of life dies. Seeming that, like, if we as humans disappeared from the earth, then every other living thing on the earth would then also just keel over from shock.
The earth is going to be fine, by the way.
Like, every fucking fish will just be like, well, that's it, and gun to the head and bang.
The end of that quote is that he's talking about that eventually when Earth gets... nuked by the heat death of the sun.
When our sun becomes a red dwarf and subsumes Earth, which
if we haven't taken to the stars, then therefore there is
all life dies. As long as humans aren't in space, any other living thing on any other planet in our infinite universe.
He's assuming that there is no life on other planets. But anyway,
can I just
proven that there is like little microscopic things?
Can I just the universe is infinite, and so therefore there has to be other life on other planets somewhere because the universe is literally infinite by definition. But I would just like to point out that the moment when our sun will subsume our Earth is 1.3 billion years away at the earliest. So
long way.
It's a long way away. Like I would be shocked if humanity makes it. I reckon we've got a ceiling of maybe 1.299 billion years for the species.
We've got some wiggle room in terms of like the apocalyptic disappearance of us as a species. Well, I mean, if we do something about climate change, but we're not here to talk about that.
Yeah. There's a couple of stage gates for humanity between now and 1.3 billion years from now. So
now, we've been talking about Malcolm for a bit, but it's not just Malcolm that has some weird things to say. His wife does as well, Simone, saying that, that she previously, before she decided that need to have as many children as possible, quote, before I met Malcolm, I would do things like base jumping and skydiving. And that was also a pretty risky thing to do, but it didn't make the world a better place or create new life. So it must not be worth doing, I guess, guys. If it doesn't create a new life, it's not worth doing.
I am fully...
Did you drink a cup of coffee this morning?
I'm fully... Yeah, did you create new? Yeah, did it create new life? So fucking why bother? Okay, so I've got a number of. Sorry, did you have more on that, or can I tell you the problems that I have with this?
I mean, on that in particular, no. But I was going to say, wait, there's more, because they're also dabbling in a little eugenics. Some might say.
Yeah.
Because while they're also having as many kids as possible, in that process, they are going through like testing and selecting embryos based on some things like intelligence and future health, which, I mean, okay, like you want to be screening for maybe, certain diseases or like, some wild health complications and things like that. But they're also like kind of picking and choosing they're being accused of like screening out any like disabilities and things like that. Which their response was a little interesting because, they're fully aware of the criticism. But according to Malcolm, he said, people are saying, people are just going to use that to get rid of groups that are seen as disabled, like autistic people. And it's like, bro, my wife is autistic. My 2 older kids are autistic, and we could have selected against it, and we didn't. So he's ignoring the fact that the criticism is that people could use it to not select it. And you're acknowledging that you could have not selected it. So that's not an argument against the eugenics concern of it, right?
You even test for autism.
I don't know if you can
prenatally. I don't think you
can. I don't know. But and then he says, because with polygenics is the process that using to be picking and choosing, says rather than the government deciding what are good genes and bad genes, the people who experience those genes get to decide. Okay. So that's a whole other thing of like, oh man, having presuppose you could test for autism prenatally, I don't know, but being like, that'd be hard for us, so we're deciding not to do it. But no, they should definitely keep existing, but we don't want one though. Dear God, we do not want one.
It always comes with all of these pronatalist kind of like America fuck yeah people. It always comes back to this kind of racist eugenics type perspective, and they may not even necessarily acknowledge consciously that it is a racist objective that they are pursuing, but there is a reason that the events of 1930s and 1940s Germany unfolded the way they did, and it was because the cultural climate that existed. Fascism rises because of the prevalence of a number of different factors, right? Big in science in both America and Germany in the early part of the 20th century was the idea of eugenics, right? That humanity was, it was very hip to be a eugenicist in the early 1900s. But what people don't seem to acknowledge is that implicit within the idea of eugenics is the idea that humanity is perfectible. And once that idea, it's a very toxic idea, it's like Inception. Once that idea seeps in, it's very hard to dislodge. The idea that humanity is perfectible, if we only choose a certain few characteristics, and if we only exclude a certain few characteristics, then we can obtain the perfect society. Well, who's getting in the way of that perfect society? Well, it's the undesirables. It's the people who have traits that are unlike ours. And then all of a sudden, you're embedded in a dichotomy between the in-group, us, white people, and the out-group, not white people, because it's a really obvious distinction that you can see without necessarily examining someone's genetic code. And what it does is it implicitly creates a hierarchy where certain people are up the top and certain people are down the bottom. And it provides a rationale, an intellectual scaffolding for what eventually becomes, sterilization, forced abortions, putting people on trains, shipping them out, mass murder. You see how you get to the Holocaust from eugenics. It is intellectually a very slippery slope to go from one to the other. And there's a reason that up until this week where, people on the Mehdi Hassan alt-right-wing Jubilee debate were, proudly up until the other day when it was taboo to describe oneself as a fascist. There's a reason that eugenics and all of these associated ideologies have been, intellectually discredited, especially in the aftermath of the Holocaust. It's because people recognize that these ideas are dangerous, right? And that's not to say you can't have IVF. It's not to say you can't do screening for genetic disorders or all that sort of stuff. But it needs to be done very thoughtfully in a way that doesn't bring about the kind of, what was that film about the genetic selection? Gattaca. So you don't bring about some kind of Gattaca-esque Brave New World type scenario. Or like the whole premise of Brave New World is that you structure a society based on people's genetic competence. You have A levels, and they get all the best everything. You get B levels, the people who help the A levels administer stuff. You have C levels, who kind of do some of the grunt work, and you have the deltas and the epsilons, who are you make them half morons and you make them janitors and do the maintenance work. And that is how this perfect society functions, is with predetermined genetic superiority built in from birth. Everyone's a test tube baby and they all decide how the society works. And everything that we've learnt as a society, the lesson from that and from 1984 and all of these other novels that talk about this kind of dystopian society, is that you can't predetermine all of this stuff. You can't fit humanity into a shoebox and say, this is what it's going to be, we're going to perfect it. The idea of perfecting humanity is dangerous in and of itself because it leads to all of these other warped things.
Wow. I didn't realize Captain America 4 was so deep.
Well, I didn't see Captain America 4, but I assume there's a eugenics element to it.
Captain America Brave New World. That's what you're referring to.
No,
right?
that is not. I was referring to the novel Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. But yes, thank you for picking up on that.
You're welcome.
The eugenics thing really is a sidebar to this. The main thing to sort of
but it helps inform the root of this thinking, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. The main thing is they want to, why this is a news article is because
it's being pushed by the administration.
Being pushed by the administration. So Donald Trump has campaigned on being the fertilization president. There is an actual in the Big Beautiful Bill. There is in the Big Beautiful Bill. There is a baby bonus, which we have had here in Australia as well, and a bunch of other things. In terms of encouraging people to have more children. Now, it's when you pair the let's have more babies with the other policies that the administration has.
The white nationalist stuff.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That it starts to paint a funny picture to me because, to be fair, Western society is going through is at the start of demographic collapse.
And this is something I wanted to mention. Demographic collapse is a real thing. It is a thing that we need to be concerned about. But there's a lot of reasons for demographic collapse that are a lot more complicated than white people don't want to have babies. And it's really got to do with wealth and privilege. And no one really understands exactly what it's at the bottom of it, but you see it in other wealthy developed nations like Japan, for example, or like South Korea, where the birth level has fallen well below the replacement rate. Some people say it's got to do with cost of living, okay? If you're living in a wealthy society where the infant mortality rate is low because we've got hospitals and such, which is great, you don't feel the need to pump out 12 kids and potentially die in childbirth, as this woman might be likely to do. She's about to have her 5th C-section, which is incredibly dangerous. It is not healthy for the human body to go through all of these different pregnancies, right? The chances that you're going to have some sort of, the older you get, the chances that you or your child is likely to have a medical event during the labor or during the pregnancy drastically increase, right? So, and also there's all of these people lined up, immigrants that they don't want to let into the country, that they're spending squillions of dollars, as we just mentioned in the ICE segment, to deport and get out of the country. It's like, okay, well, if you were so concerned about the birth rate and the numbers of people and supporting the growth of the economy going into the future, wouldn't you let in some of the people who are wanting to come to the country and work really hard and have a bunch of babies and then eventually become part of your system? Like, wouldn't you want those people coming in? Because it's not about that. It's about maintaining white hegemony. It's about white supremacy. Whether they realize it or not, they are participating in a societal trend that is all about perpetuating the white race.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other aspect to it as well is there's a heavy, not with this couple that Tom's mentioned, but in other parts of the United States, there's a heavy religious element to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, God needs me to have X, Y, Z, many children to further the goods of the human race or whatever. But in underlying all that is the fact that a lot of those religious movements are also conservative, which are also buying partially, into just certain instances, into the Republican movement as it exists today.
Yeah.
So it's layered, but and like, while I'm like, okay, if I don't have lots of kids, that's fine. It's just interesting to see how
you have as many kids as you
politics,
want, right?
The politics interfaces with people's value systems, and how that potentially may change from
because they also, this couple also has like some other like banger quotes from this, such as that they say they do deliberately like to troll the lefties. Where Mrs. Collins often is seen wearing a Handmaid's Tale style the hats and things like that, and she's quoted saying it's funny because the only way we can avoid a Handmaid's Tale future is for feminists to have more kids.
That's what I mean. It's the solution. It's apparently an ideology that's predicated on trolling. Like I actually don't know if they really have any earnest beliefs as much as it's kind of a performative, like
owning the libs.
Yeah, owning the libs, and that's why I'm going to just pump load after load of cum into my wife until she's a constant walking incubator. Like the whole thing seems like very dystopian. Turning your wife into a breeding machine is very dystopian to me, right?
Oh yeah,
and no one knows exactly why demographic collapse is happening. It is a problem. But I'm also aware that there are solutions to that problem that don't involve, having a plethora of kids. You can encourage more immigration, or you could restructure the economic system so it's not predicated on unlimited, infinite growth. Like maybe there are things that maybe the way that we've structured our society, insofar as it is predicated on this idea of infinite growth. Well, maybe that's wrong, and maybe we can have more of a circular economy that incorporates, an idea of steady state, or growth, or
just
flatline
lower
growth.
The cost of living, so it's
or find a way to make Like I definitely do think it's part of that. But a number of governments around the world that are experiencing these issues have tried things like that. Baby bonuses, as you mentioned, Australia did that.
Yeah, that's
subsidized childcare, like that. No one really understands exactly what the drivers are as to why people have 1 or 2 kids now as opposed to 8 or 12. Like, there's a number of different factors that play into it, and not being able to afford kids is kind of one of those things. But if you look at people that are in, developing countries around the world who can even less afford kids than someone in a developed country, they tend to have more children. And it's like, okay, well, is that a religious thing? Is that a cultural thing? Is it like you just need more hands on the farm and that's why you're just pumping out kids? Child mortality was high, so you have 5 kids and you assume that 3 aren't going to make it, sort of thing? Like,
well, there could be access to access
to birth control, access to
birth control and abortion and services and things like that. I know. I just think
but doesn't it mean that we're having the right amount of kids, like the amount of kids that people want to have? If it's due to birth control, if it's due to wealth and these other factors, like people don't want to have 7 kids, but because we don't live in the 1800s anymore, and that was just what you had to do in the 1800s because your husband was the king of the house, and if he says he wants 5 kids, then you got to have 5 kids. So I just don't agree with the vision that they have of the world where it's like, I don't think it's possible and actually not desirable for everyone to be pumping out 5, 12 kids. But it's like, it's not actually like, given the value that we place on human life and children and children's experiences growing up, and like, even if I wanted, we've got a 3-bedroom house. If I wanted to have 5 kids, I simply could not. I would have to put them in drawers. We could not have 5 kids. But like, I also would want 5 kids. And so this idea of like encouraging people to have all of these extra children that they may not want, like pumping babies out rather than just saying, let's just let some immigrants come in, is like, it just seems to me like fundamentally
they are looking at they're looking at if they're wanting to deal with declining birth rates by encouraging people to have more kids, they need to look at it as they need to look at it as spreading it out more. Because I think, aside from the fact of people who just do not want to have children, I think the sentiment that at least I've seen around, maybe to be driving people to either just have made the decision of like, I don't want to have kids, or that like people who do want to have kids but haven't, like, can often, I think it's not just an economic aspect in terms of like, I can't afford it, or needing to make things cheaper, to make it cheaper for people to have kids. We need to also societally, I think, make it more mental. I can't think of the best way to phrase this. Mentally healthy to have kids at the same time. Like, it's not just money. Like, yes, like give like baby bonuses and like free childcare and all those sorts of things would help. But there's so much like, oh no, you can't be working from home. Like, we're mandating you back in the office. It's like, oh well, okay, well then that makes my life harder being a parent. Like, that sort of thing.
We do not create.
Not only is it expensive to have kids, but also make you miserable to have kids because of all the other stresses that we're putting on people, just being like, well, you just have to suck it up and deal with it.
The way we have structured our neoliberal society for profit kind of precludes the idea that one guy working in the fucking widget factory can support a family of 5 and own a house.
Factory?
Or fucking whatever. You know, working at fucking Chrysler on a middle class salary can afford to have a relatively upper middle class life and also support a family and do all of that on one job, right? Like, we just simply do not live in a society where any of that is possible anymore. And like, all of that those are all deliberate policy settings that people in power have kept in a certain way to privilege, you know, capital and capital growth over labor. And so one can hardly be surprised when we live in a society that doesn't allow for large families. You know, childcare is one thing, but it's like, you used to have multi-family homes where people would live in the house, and like, cultural mores have changed. People don't want their mother-in-laws living in their house with them and helping to raise their kids. And like, we have this idea of the suburbs where people go and live in their own house and they do their own thing and they raise their own family and you raise your family. And like, we haven't got that like multi-generational family home where communities where people raise their kids together. It's much more fragmented and isolated now. And that's the way our society is kind of developed. It's just like, so there's a lot of things at the societal level that would have to change to encourage people to go and have a bunch more children than they're otherwise going to have. But that's not the way that, you know, that's not what our government here in Australia or the government in America. It's like, you need to make it, you know, easy, fun, and comfortable for people to have one income families and raise children. And they're not doing that. Like, no, it's going very much in the opposite direction. So fucking kill surprise, people are having less kids, right? So
no. Now, I know we've been talking about this for a while, but I thought just another angle on this that I found interesting was that the two people that they reference in the article, Malcolm and Simone Collins, both have a background in tech. Which, I don't know, that just surprised me a little bit, given the aesthetic that we were sort of seeing. I was like, oh, these feel like very quote unquote trad wife, homesteady sort of thing. But they were like, you know, that they were a former Silicon Valley couple and all this sort of stuff. And then the article goes further down to talk about like things said by Elon Musk and like, what is it with people in tech and talking about the grand scale of the universe, like the death of humanity by the numbers. Like, there's just that trend, and I hate to refer to Behind the Bastards for the second week in a row, but they had an interesting episode about like a cult of techie people who were all concerned about the fact that we were eventually going to invent an AI that will be benevolent and like judge humanity. So I need to be making concerted decisions now to appease that,
to appease the future
and
AI.
then also appease the future AI, and B, get a role in tech so I can be on the ground in the development of that AI to make sure that it's merciful. Like these certainties of on a cosmic scale that our species is doomed is like tech. I work in tech to a degree, and tech people seem so obsessed with it.
I think it's got to do with a lot of different things, probably which we don't have the time to unpack here. I can see Adam's just fighting for his life in the top left-hand corner of my screen there. But
please, God, can we move on?
I think there is you're right, Tom, that there is this idea of like the bro-oligarchy, the sort of tech oligarchy, and the billionaires, and kind of the far right, Christian right, alt right. You know, there's been a fusion of these different elements, and I think it's to do with like a kind of sense of libertarianism almost. It's like, well, we need to look after ourselves. We're the only one looking after there's a kindly. It's a very like neo-natalist kind of ideology of like we need to look after ourselves. No one's coming to save us. We need to do the thing ourselves. We need to address all of the problems that are going to happen on the infinite time scale of the universe, and we need to deal with them ourselves now directly. And that kind of like libertarianism, myself above everyone else at all costs, does tend to like grate against the whole idea of like social democracy and like society and those kind of what I thought up until recently were like very much fundamentals of how civilization worked. And that's why you're seeing a lot of these different vectors of I would almost call it like a inherently kind of anti-social philosophy kind of melding together, the tech, the far right Christianity, like it's just like, well, if we're the outsiders, well, then we're going to be the fucking outsiders and fuck the rest of you. It's kind of like an inherently quite nihilistic philosophy.
All the antisocial people getting together and socializing is deeply ironic.
And creating more antisocial people in the babies that they are creating. Yeah, the whole thing is really fucking weird. Anyway, we're going to be running short on time for the rest of the show, so let's move on. Let's skip Rachel Maddow and Apple. Let's go across the seas over to Australia, where Labor says Google sharks are not going to scare it from banning YouTube for under 16s. So this is a story that we've been talking about for some time on the Unnatural Selection Podcast, is the social media ban that the Labor government has been trying to introduce for some time. So Adam, could you take us through that, please?
So basically they will be banning social media for under 16s, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. Later this year in December. YouTube will now be a part of that. So it was previously, announced that there would be an exemption for YouTube because of their educational status. That has since been revoked based on advice and research given or picked up by the E-Safety Commissioner. And the E-Safety Commissioner has then informed the government, and the government has said, no, YouTube's going to be included. So critically, though, it doesn't include YouTube for Kids. And it only is for people trying to create a YouTube account. So you can still you can just go to YouTube and just search for something and find it.
And just watch a video not logged in.
Yeah.
Correct. Now you would need to, if it's there's age verification on YouTube.
Yeah.
Now, so
YouTube's existing age restriction requires an account.
You couldn't just log on and, watch a video of a Ukrainian person getting run over by a tank or something, but which is something you can do on YouTube.
Well, you can see it on Instagram.
So you've been told?
Yeah.
Also, are you asking for a friend?
Well, generally, YouTube will take it down after a while, but there are a lot of videos.
Holy shit.
Things like the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza,
there's a lot of
where
stuff
people
online.
post stuff up, and then eventually it gets taken down.
We have very different algorithms.
But,
Fuck.
So basically, it doesn't actually stop people accessing YouTube, but it stops people creating an account and stops people potentially accessing stuff that is requires an age verification. Now, as to how they'll do this, still not 100% clear.
Yeah, I greatly enjoyed like an ABC infographic I saw on this where it was like, what to know now that the YouTube thing changed, and you swipe through sort of the pictures with the cliff notes, and there was, and how will the age verification be implemented? We still don't know. Was the next sentence. I was like, oh, great.
It's currently the start of August, and this is meant to come into force in December.
Yep.
So they're running out of
early
time.
December.
And if there's one thing we know about the federal government, it solves problems at pace.
Quickly.
Rapidly. Now, the other thing to note here is that Google has basically threatened to sue, as George said at the start, the federal government.
Meanwhile, the week before, they were like holding parties in Canberra trying to like get people on side. They're like, and it didn't go our way. Oh, we're gonna fucking sue you, you pieces of shit.
And that's because Google believes, Google's position is that YouTube is a video streaming platform, not a social media website. But you can have comments, you can create
There's
posts
absolutely social elements.
Video.
Yeah.
There are social elements.
When YouTube initially started out, they've kind of phased this out. But I remember from like being a YouTuber back in 2005, is that you could create reply videos to other people's videos. Right, kind of like how TikTok does.
What TikTok does, yeah.
Now, where you sort of reply to other people with your video, your content, and there's like YouTube Shorts, which are very much in that same kind of like short form story style video. It's like much more social. You sort of flick through it like TikTok. Like clearly, it is it's a video sharing network, but there's social media elements that are very much integrated into YouTube and how it operates. Right, so I just don't buy the argument that it's not a social media network and should therefore be excluded. But like having seen a bunch of parents and online commentary talking about this, they're like, okay, but like I have an account for my daughter now who's like above YouTube Kids age, which is like, I guess for toddlers, but she's not yet 18. And so now she can't have an account, but which means she's going to be exposed to ads. She's going to be exposed to the algorithm. She's going to be exposed to, so I had an account for my kid, but she can no longer access that now because it's not allowed. But I had parental controls and like a YouTube premium account, which meant that I could control what it is to some extent that she's seeing. And now I can no longer do that because she doesn't qualify for an account under this law. So it's like, it's very strange to me how it's...
Well, yeah, depending how they enforce that. But I thought it's more that what they're going to enforce is the companies to take the reasonable steps to do the age verification or whatever. There's no punishment for having an account if they somehow get one. So, yeah, at least in those people's cases, they might lose the ability to use the account, but they won't be like punished for having it if come December 11th and this all goes through. Yeah,
but
it's all just very strange.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it just seems like it's sort of kicking people off in a way that you're not within the walled ecosystem. You as the parent can't then control the content that your kid is seeing, but then they can still have access to all of the horrors of the internet. They just need to be logged out. Like it just like does not make sense to me.
And it's just great to see that we are, making some big sweeping changes to the already vague plans with 4 months to go. Just great to see. What'll change next week?
If they stuff this up, it's gonna be a nightmare for the Labor government.
And globally, right? Because you've seen so many people being like,
other countries are very interested in what we're doing.
They've touted it here in Australia as like, this is world leading. And it's like, well, okay, great, but are you going to lead the world into a massive cock up? So then, like, any kind of social media, maybe regulation or attempts to actually try and protect and control maybe what is seen or done on the internet by younger people will just be thrown back into the Stone Age.
And the thing is, like, I think people broadly, if you ask the Australian populace, they reckon, like, I'm reading The Anxious Generation now by Jonathan Haidt, which talks about social media use and the way it warps teenagers' brains in not good ways, and mobile phone use and all that sort of stuff. And I'm also watching this documentary series called Social Studies, which follows a bunch of teenagers around in the United States who are very online and showing the negative effects that it has on their lives. I think people are aware at least parents of our generation, millennials, who grew up with technology and know the, fucked up shit that happened on chat rooms back in the day. And that was when technology was in its infancy, not like it is now, where everyone's got a porn production studio in their pocket. Parents of our generation are much more switched on to the dangers with all this sort of stuff. They know it's not great. So we all know, and I think nominally everyone's broadly in support of some sort of age restrictions on social media, and I think mostly people are on board with that. What we're not on board with is with registering identities with the government and passing some kind of face scan verification check. I don't think people, when they talked about this, when they announced it, when they put the policy together, everyone was like, okay, yeah, no social media for kids under whatever, 16. That makes sense. Broadly in support of that, let's do that. But I don't think the Australian populace, just like the Labor Party, as it seems, didn't really fully think through all of the various implications of what it would actually mean to enforce that and how it would work. And it's
private sector will work it out.
Yeah, public-private partnerships, neo-libs shaking hands. I just don't think that the reality of what this is shaping up to be really comports with my expectations or the Australian public's expectations. I think the further we go along this road, the more that people are going to turn against the Labor Party on this. I think they've got a real turd on their hands, a real fucking hand grenade that they really need
December
to get rid
11th
of.
is going to roll around, and everyone's going to wake up and do their usual morning hop on their social media platform of choice, and it's going to ask for their driver's license, and everyone will go, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. There's implications for porn and other things as well. It's the whole sort of ecosystem around all of this sort of stuff is not, I think it's really brushing up against a lot of Australian voters' expectations of what a system like this should look like. I, for one, am not a fan of, face scanning or AI or or even, putting my government ID into it. Yeah, the whole thing just seems very icky. I don't like it. And that doesn't result in voters being happy as a rule. Speaking of unhappy voters, Adam, why don't you tell me about what's going on in Tasmania?
They still haven't got a government yet.
Is it customary to have a government after an election?
Generally speaking, you'd like to have some sort of government. But in this case, because of the Herr-Clark system, they are still counting a couple of seats. But either way, the Liberals won't have a majority. So we've talked about it before that they're going to have to do some deals. But despite that, they are still doing things that aren't very deal-makery. So there's another big public infrastructure project, which turns out is not the stadium. It's actually this thing called it's called Marinus Link, which is
it's basically just a long extension cable that runs from Tasmania to Victoria, if I'm not mistaken.
That's literally it. Yep. And the investors are basically the Victorian government, the Tasmanian government, the federal government. And anyway, so, just after the election, Jeremy Rockcliffe was like, we'll wipe the slate clean and we'll negotiate and it'll be a fresh start.
He pulled the Men in Black forget things flash. Forget.
Good government starts today. And today. During this deal's been going for a while, but during this caretaker period that they've been in, the government signed the $5 billion deal to have Adam, this project proceed.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the entire purpose of a caretaker period to ensure that the government doesn't make any large decisions about the state's future prior to entering into an election? Whilst we know that we're about to have an election, maybe the people should decide. Therefore, you have a caretaker period, so you don't make any massive decisions before that thing that we know. Isn't that
a good deal though?
Right,
it's such a good deal for everyone.
But if it's a good deal now, it will still be a good deal in 1 month after the election. So maybe the deal
was lined up. We have to sign it. It's been booked in the calendar.
Right.
It's been the secretary put it in, and we've got to have the meeting, and they signed off on it. But they signed off on this. So Craig Garland, who's one of the independents, was asked to see the business case, and they were like, "Oh, we can't show you the business case." They went ahead and then signed this deal, and then like last week, a couple of days ago, released a whole bunch of documents to various members of parliament because of. They were saying, oh, we can't show you the business case before we sign it because of sensitivities, but here's a bunch of information after the fact.
Adam, this is how good the business case is we can't fucking show it to you. It's so good that you can't even look at it. Like Oedipus, you'll claw your own eyes out if you see it prematurely. Okay, so it's like an eclipse. So now, you can't stare at it too long and it'll burn your corneas.
So now Craig Garland has said, well, I'm not going to support you. So that's one of the independents
for the second time in 2 months. So he was part of the no confidence resolution that says, I'm not going to guarantee you supply. He's since been in negotiations, I guess, with the Tasmanian Liberal Party to say, oh, maybe I could get back on board and guarantee you supply. Yeah. And now he's again pushing for a second. He's committed to supporting another no confidence motion to kick them out of power mere weeks later. So,
it's insane. So now I don't know how the Liberals will form a government. There's like 4 independent. They might get another seat potentially with the ones that are yet to be counted, but then they've still got to get like 3 or 4 of these independents on board.
Crossbenchers.
Some of these independents have said very publicly that they don't support the stadium and will not be passing legislation.
I think they just need to have another election. Like, I really don't see a way out of this unless.
Well, this is probably where it's going to head, to my mind. Like, I mean,
and you did it wrong. Do it again, people. You picked wrong last time.
Labor's got the option, I guess, of pulling another no confidence vote and then potentially picking up votes to have that go through as well. So,
could you imagine?
I mean, the Liberals could try and govern in minority, and I think the governor would probably want them to try that.
But isn't that what we just did? And then they voted no wasn't that the state of affairs 2 months ago? Like,
yeah. So, but anyway, it's probably one of the messiest state parliament situations I think I've seen in recent memory. Yeah, in any state in Australia.
It's not good.
Yeah. This is gnarly.
I just don't see.
They haven't finished counting yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The election has not been officially certified yet. It's still, and we've already headed to another situation where they may need to probably have to go to another election.
Yep, just a do-over.
The last one's not even finished yet. Poor old Carol in Bass is going, well, do I even fucking count the rest of these? Or you guys just going to fucking...
Yeah.
Just let me know what you're going to do and because I'm busy. I got stuff going on,
But it is interesting they signed that the deal for the cable.
It is quite literally the point of the caretaker period is to not make any big decisions.
To not do that.
Yeah. So I don't know if they just wanted to toss a hand grenade in.
Yeah, to force their hand.
To force the Labor Party's hand just in case they lost, or who knows. That seems like odd timing.
It just bonkers.
But yeah.
Yeah, so the pull quote is from Mr. Garland, quote, I do not have any confidence in Mr. Rockcliffe, which suggests to me that he might vote for a no confidence motion. The track record is abysmal. There's not been any lessons learned. So, yeah, I don't know what you do when you've got a crossbench, but also neither party can really form government. It's kind of a tricky situation that they've found themselves in. I really don't know how you resolve it.
I mean, if there weren't these big contentious issues, you could try and govern in, if the governor could try and make them govern in minority and be just pass legislation and you vote for it on its merits, right?
On every piece of legislation on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. But the problem is...
Not a recipe for stability.
There are these major projects and hurdles and pieces of legislation that they want to pass. Massive stuff happening,
yeah.
Like the budget, right? That... you would need to be able to guarantee supply for, and if they, just like in federal parliament, if there's a couple of things that don't pass, then you end up, with an ineffective government, and you have to go back to an election anyway. So, I don't know.
Sounds bad. Speaking of sounding bad, why don't you talk us? Our senior gaming correspondent Tom can talk to us about the mass game Takedown on Steam and what was the other service? Itch.io.
I always called it Itch.io. I don't know if that's actually how you meant to say it, but I always just said Itch.io. And Nintendo. Just recently, what a lot of people who frequent like storefronts like Steam, which is the biggest like PC gaming storefront kind of ever, or Itch.io, which is kind of one that is more focused on having like more independent kind of smaller games on there as well. Like it's pretty easy to get like your game listed on Itch.io without the need of a big publisher and all that sort of stuff. Some 20,000 plus what are being described as adult-themed games have been removed from the platform.
After pressure from a non-governmental organization named Collective Shout.
Yes. So
and American gamers are really pissed because it is an Australian organization.
Yes. So a foreign organization is affecting their sweet fapping games. So a whole bunch of like adult themed games have been removed thanks to pressure from this group, Collective Shout. But
not pressure on.
Pressure wasn't targeted at Itch.io or Steam or any of that. It was targeted at companies like PayPal and Visa and MasterCard and all these to say your payment platforms are being used to purchase things that we find morally reprehensible and that you too should find morally reprehensible. So they have pulled out. And that's because...
I don't know if pulled out is necessarily the term that I would use
that was
when describing the story.
I was wondering whether you're going to pick up on that. Now, this is where I think this story sort of gets a little interesting because how the anti-pornography group Collective Shout framing it is that all these games that they're urging to have pulled off, that they were railing against, they described them as rape and child abuse simulators. Just like characterizing some really like horrific stuff, like talking about themes of like sexual violence and incest and all this sort of stuff. But it's not so much that they were listing like titles specifically they wanted to remove. I think it seems more like they have pressured the payment services. The payment services have gone to then Itch.io and Steam and all that and be like, we don't want our, if you were to continue allowing MasterCard, Visa payments, the major payment to be used to purchase stuff on your site, you need to pull down anything anything pornographic.
Anything marked as NSFW, not safe for work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So
the
games, there's a mix in there. Anyone who's spent any time on like the Steam storefront and all that sort of stuff, I don't know if you guys spend much time looking at the Steam storefronts, what's brand new and trending or what's popular coming soon.
It's pretty weird.
It's often a list of Battlefield 6 and I see like Counter-Strike 2's got a lot of downloads and Sex and Coffee Orc Simulator. Yeah. What the hell is that?
Yeah, Hentai Girls 9 or something like that.
Some game that's just it's like Bejeweled puzzle kind of like just
literally looking at
game.
Right now, and the top one on my list, so new and trending, is called Lust Sisters.
Yep, Lust Sisters.
Okay.
I'll let your imagination go wild.
Yeah. So, and great, enjoy your pornographic game. Go for it. If that's what you enjoy,
if
great.
That's what you're into,
when you see the ones that it's like, it's a puzzle game, and if you solve the puzzle, get like an animated rendered scene of some like absurdly proportioned woman getting railed by an orc. Okay, don't want to yuck your yum. If that's what you're after, go for it. But I do see the point when some of these people look really, really young and creepy and like schoolgirly, and so I don't know. I find that not kosher.
That's like
so
a whole
I
thing
see,
with like that Japanese anime manga thing is that there's like
oh,
lots of
well, yeah,
kind of
there's
like,
that too. Yeah.
you know, kind of like schoolgirl, you know, with the plaid skirts and that kind of like
different
imagery,
views.
But it's like,
Yeah, there's different views of innocence in different cultures and like of like you're cute and like yeah. So that's where it gets really complicated if you want to be like moralizing on these kinds of games, right? Which is where I think this is tricky because yeah, you are moralizing on the whole concept of not safe for work, pornographic video games.
But the thing is,
which if they're not for you, they're not for you.
But the thing is,
but if they are for someone else, let them.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think the problem that a lot of the gamer community has with this is that Collective Shout has pressured payments providers into effectively creating like a kind of de facto ban, a censorship of particular kinds of content. And considering that, you know, these three services, PayPal, MasterCard, and Visa, make up
like
99.9% of all payment transactions globally in terms of like official storefront activity, by censoring them or pressuring them, you can effectively censor what citizens in your own country, but also other people's countries can do with their own money. And that just seems kind of like inherently anti-freedom, you know, the libertarians must be losing their minds. In between having bouts of children. So litters of children. So like, obviously I'm not in favor. And like, I do think like the Nintendo Switch storefront in particular is like particularly horrible at this. It's like, you know that mostly kids are visiting this storefront and there doesn't seem any easy way of like filtering out some of this like very horny sort of
god, anytime I've
from the other, you know, regular Mario fucking stuff.
I don't play the Switch like that much, but sometimes like I hop on there to be like, okay, and what's on the store? Is there anything handy to have in portable system? And it's like Mario, and just like a wall of like, if it's not like weirdly horny kind of stuff, it's just slop as well. Like it's just a storefront full of garbage.
Yes. So there are questions around quality controls, and like, I do think a lot of stuff on there is definitely not appropriate for kids, and you don't want kids seeing that stuff or accidentally buying that stuff.
Oh my god, you don't want lust sisters just popping up on your child's Steam account. I see Adam's eyes are just widening. What awful things are you just seeing in your
gazing into the bowels of the internet?
Just going through contract. I'm looking at VR games now. No, I'll turn this off. But I mean, it's obviously
VR games are a whole other ball game in these genres. Like it gets even dicier.
But also, also porn. Porn. You can buy porn. You're allowed to buy porn. Porn is legal. It is a product. You Collective Shout may not like porn, but it is a thing that adults are allowed to buy with their own money. Yeah. It's a legal product. It's a legal product and service in most countries. So I don't know. There is something like inherently kind of, moralistic and puritanical and kind of finger wagging about all this sort of stuff. I agree. Probably a bunch of this stuff is like dross and completely inappropriate and probably should get removed. But I think that needs to be at like at the Steam level rather than at the payment processor level. And it seems like they characterize themselves, Collective Shout, as very much like a grassroots institution, but I'd love to learn a little bit more about where the funding for this organization comes from, because it really does not come across to me as a grassroots level movement. You know, very coordinated lobbying campaigns direct to government, direct to, like payments providers, and, lobbying within government, and like pretty advanced communication strategies from what I've been able to discern. It does not seem like a bunch of like concerned mums got in a room and said, like, how do we stop child exploitation? No one wants child exploitation, right? But if, as you say, Tom, if you want to, fucking as an adult spend your hard-earned money on some orc sex simulator game, I mean,
go for your life.
It's not what I would do, but it is legal, and you.
Go for your life.
I do not. What's that phrase? I
would imagine that
I do not agree with what you jerk to, but I will defend to the death your right to jerk to it.
To look at any of these store pages, you would have to be logged in, I would imagine.
Yes, but we all know that the age verification on Steam is easily circumnavigatable, right? Like,
I was born in 1900.
Yep, 1901.
Oh, yeah.
January.
Yeah, I was going to say, every time New Year's Day rolls around, I'm like, and happy birthday to so many people.
Jan 1, 1901. We've got a lot of 124-year-olds on this fucking gaming platform. Yeah, it's obviously a joke, and I do think there needs to be better rules about protecting kids from this sort of content. But
And
making it unavailable from the global payments level does not seem like the most equitable way of doing that, right?
Yeah, but also the absolute wrong way to respond to this kind of thing is to send apparently the kind of rape and doxing threats that members of Collective Shout have been getting. So
none of that's acceptable
like,
either.
God damn it! Like, if you want to try and keep the moral high ground on anything, fucking don't. I hate people sometimes. But also, Elon Musk says he's going to fix it, you guys.
This fucking guy.
He entered the fray because, of course, if gamers are pissed off about something, Elon Musk will come in and have an opinion.
Elon Musk, definitely real gamer. Yep. Absolutely has an opinion on it.
He jumped in. I haven't seen the
levels
tweets.
Over 9,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen the tweet specifically, but he jumped in apparently and is defending gamers and hinted he may launch a rival payments platform that would allow you to buy all the orc-pounding goodness you can handle.
He said a year and a half ago that a year from now...
No.
A year from now, a year and a half ago, he said that a year from now that Twitter would have become like a banking app. So clearly this is something he's had in mind for a long time, but like has been completely unable to execute on because he's
and maybe he can capitalize on this though. Are you horny? Do you want that like robbing night elf penis in your life? He will help you. Elon Musk has got your back. Nah, he sucks. On
that note, we have been on the throbbing elf penis note. We have been, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social medias that have, do, or ever will exist at our handle at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and motherflippin' TikTok. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and Substack at George Tsipos.
You can follow me on Threads at tom.heath.
You can follow me down to my Steam new and trending section, where I'll be looking at all the newest releases, including... Oh, this is a nice record. Actually, have you guys played Gorilla Tag? Perhaps that's quite fun. It's a VR game. Just run around as a gorilla and just tag each other.
As an actual gorilla. I was worrying worried it was going to be some kind of like disturbing sexual situation.
No, this is just a normal game.
Just a gorilla.
I thought you more meant like gorilla as in the warfare. But
no, gorilla. Right. Tarzan reference. Anyway,
I kind of thought we were going to be like Antifa super soldiers, just trying to take out the patriotic American government, and I got excited. Thanks for listening, guys. I love your faces. We'll see you next week.
Oh, Sex and Coffee comes out on August 4th.
I'm hanging out for that.